I used to work at a gas station a couple years ago. It was my first job, and I only worked there for about 5 months. They paid me minimum wage, but I really needed a job, and they were the first to get back with me. Out of all the applications I put in all around town, I didn't like working there much, but it was a job, and it helped me do my part by taking care of bills that my girlfriend and I had at the time. I didn't have a car yet, so I had to walk to work every day. I really lucked out when I got this job, though, in a way, because it was only a 5-minute walk from my apartment. But as soon as I got my car, I got a new job as fast as I could. Not only because I didn't like it there, but also because of what happened to me a month prior. My schedule was very wonky, and I pretty much just worked when they needed me to. I worked first and second shift mainly. But this night I was working second shift. My shift started at 3 p.m. I usually left my apartment 10 to 15 minutes before I needed to be to work. It only takes me a couple minutes to walk there, so I'm always on time and just a few minutes early most days. I would take a shortcut to work every day. There was this trail that led into a small open field that I used to walk across that was directly behind where I worked to the gas station. If I were to walk the road instead of the trail and not take the shortcut, it would probably take me double the time it takes me to walk the trail to get to work at least. On my way to work that day, there was this dude that I'd never seen before. He was just sitting there in the woods right next to the trail, and he was like laying down on his side. And it smelled like he was smoking weed, as the whole area smelled like it. I think I jump scared him a bit when I got closer because I had to walk past him. "Whoa, sorry kid, you scared the heck out of me. Hey, you want to hit this? I'm bored and I could use someone to talk to," he said. I politely declined and told him I had to go to work and that I was in a hurry. "Oh, come on, you can't take 2 hits real quick? It'll make your day better," he said. I don't give in to peer pressure, and I never will, so I firmly told him no and that I didn't want to and to please stop asking me. Then I continued walking. "Wait," he said. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. I was just trying to be friendly." I told him it was fine and to not worry about it, and that I was sorry, but I couldn't stay around to talk, and that I really had to get going. I don't have anything against weed, and as a matter of fact, I have tried it a few dozen times, but it's just not really my thing. And plus, going to work right now while high would probably spike my anxiety, I told him. He then asked me for $5 and said that he was homeless and that he hasn't eaten in over 3 days. My first instinct was to say no, but to get him out of my hair, I gave him $5 real quick in hopes that he would leave me alone. He thanked me and told me how much he appreciated it. I then walked away and resumed my walk back to work. Man, that guy was a nutcase. I thought about what happened while I was at work for a little bit, but I quickly forgot. As the day progressed into night at work, it was just a normal work day. Nothing out of the ordinary, and I completely forgot about what happened earlier with that strange man before work. Towards the end of my shift, as I was waiting for Josh, the third shift employee, to get to work, so he could take over for me and so I could finally go home, I saw somebody outside, through the window. At first I thought they were just smoking or something, but I soon realized that they were staring at me. I couldn't really see their face, but from the shape of them, it looked like a man. I couldn't make out any of his facial features at all. It made me feel a bit weird because me and this random man were the only people that were there at that exact point in time, that I knew of anyways. Every time I looked over at him within a 5-minute time span, he was still staring at me. I don't really think he even moved a muscle. I was starting to feel more anxious, but I decided to pay no mind to it. I didn't want to entertain him, so I picked up a broom and swept up my area, and I continued closing my station down, so that way I could leave as soon as James got there. I looked at my watch to check the time. It was 11:45 on the dot. James was supposed to be here 15 minutes ago. He was never late, though. In the 5 months that I worked there, that was the only time he was ever late. My first thought was that he called off work or something. Well, I got the call a few minutes later from the general manager that he did indeed call off work. He told me he really needed me to cover his shift for him. I was really upset about it, but I accepted and I worked his shift for him. Then I told him about the guy who had been staring at me outside. Yes, he was still staring at me. He moved over to the next window, but he was still staring at me and not moving at all. My general manager told me to tell him to leave or that I was going to call the police. He then told me to call him back if anything bad happened. I hung up and I said, "Hey man, what's your problem? It's time for you to go." He just stood there and continued staring at me. He stood there for another 10 to 15 seconds, not saying a word at all. "I'm going to call the police if you're not gone when I come back," I said. I went inside and grabbed my phone, and when I came back outside, he was gone. I looked around a bit to make sure he was really gone. There's no way he had a car with him because I didn't see one in the parking lot when I came out there the first time. I looked around back and there he was, in the middle of the field, which was the shortcut that I took to work every day. He was nothing but a black shadow. He was probably 75 feet or more away from me, and he had something in his hand. He was staring at me again. There was silence for maybe 20 seconds as I was in disbelief, and I didn't know what to say at all. He then started running towards me. Luckily, I was far away from him and way closer to the gas station door than he was. Before I turned the corner and booked it inside, I looked behind me and there he was standing directly under a street post light in a parking lot of some sort of veterans club thing. I don't know what it's called, but it was behind the gas station where I worked at. I ran inside immediately and I locked the door and called the police. He must have ran fast and knew I was calling the police because when the cops got there, there was no trace of him at all. I showed the police the camera footage that the CCTV picked up, and I gave them the best description that I could. They said they will do their best to try and find him and that they will keep a close eye out for him. I think it was the same guy who stopped and asked me for $5 earlier. He kind of looked like him, but he was wearing a whole different outfit. And the guy who was staring at me had really long gray hair, while the guy I talked to before work looked like he had short hair. But he did have a beanie on, and he could have had his hair up in a bun or something and I just didn't notice. Either way, I quit taking the shortcut to work after that, in case he was still out there. I've never heard a word since from the police, so he's probably still out there somewhere. I don't know if he was trying to play some sick prank on me or something, but it makes me really uncomfortable to think about that he's probably still out there somewhere, doing something like this to other people. One night, my friend Evan and I were going to the store for some late night snacks. I realized I needed gas pretty bad as well, so we stopped along the way at a gas station. Originally, we were going to go to Walmart, but since we were already at the gas station, to save some time, we decided to get our snacks at the gas station. I paid at the pump and filled my car up while Evan went inside. I told him I would meet him inside in just a few minutes. When I walked inside, it was quiet. Too quiet. There was no sign of anyone, not Evan or a worker or anyone else at all. I thought that was a bit weird, but I just figured Evan was in the bathroom or something. I decided to look around for some snacks and a couple of drinks for us while I waited. Well, time kept ticking and I still hadn't found Evan yet, so I knocked on the bathroom door. "Evan, you in there, man?" There was no response. Weird, I thought. Where is he? What's going on? I even tried calling him. No response. I then heard screaming, of which sounded like it came from the back. I was very confused, but also terrified, because it didn't seem right, and I also knew for a fact that something bad was happening. I slowly crept my way back there, and I knew I wasn't really allowed in the back, but I was pretty sure that this was an emergency situation, and I didn't care about getting in trouble, because I was worried about my best friend. As I got closer, I heard Evan talking. That was when I ran to him and I saw the most horrifying thing that I have ever seen in my entire life. It doesn't matter how hard I tried not to. Whenever I close my eyes, I can still see the image of this man lying on the floor how he was. It was the gas station employee. He had been beaten and robbed. And when I say beaten, I mean he was barely recognizable. It was the most gruesome thing I have ever seen in my whole life. I started freaking the hell out, but I was trying to help out the best I knew how. Evan was on the phone with the police, while the employee, I can't remember his name, I think it was Parker, was bleeding out. He was slowly losing consciousness. I wasn't sure if he was going to make it, so I started crying. He had 2 broken ribs, a broken nose, a concussion, and he was bleeding from the side of his head and had blood all over his face. He was rushed to a hospital, and thankfully the cops and ambulance got there pretty quick. Apparently the guy who did this to him was Parker's ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend that cheated on him with him. I guess they got into some sort of altercation, and this was the aftermath. Now, I don't know what kind of bad blood they had between each other, besides the obvious animosity, but I can't think of many things that would require a beating that brutal and horrific. Evan said he witnessed part of it and tried to stop the man before he ran off, but he got away before he could catch up to him. And even then, the most important thing was this man's safety, so he tended to him before chasing him down. Evan described what the guy looked like to me, and now it all makes sense, because I saw someone run out of the store kind of, while I was getting gas. I didn't think much of it though. I just thought he might have been in a hurry or something. He was probably waiting until he knew he was alone to go in there and do what he did. Or maybe it was just ironic, in a wrong place, wrong time thing. Anyways, the police found the attacker later that night at his apartment, wasted. I heard he tried to run from the cops as well, but it didn't end too well. He was arrested, and I'm sure he will be getting charged with some serious felonies. Parker, on the other hand, is doing a lot better. He still works there at the gas station too. I see him all the time while he's working when I go in there. I can't even imagine what that would do to a person's psyche. I hope he's managing well. I'm a manager at a Speedway gas station in Cleveland, Ohio. It's in a rough area, but I get paid decent. I couldn't afford to get a different job anyways, even if I wanted to, because I know I wouldn't get paid as much as I do here. One night when I was working, I think it was around 10 o'clock, I was the only one working the cash register at that moment, because the only other employee that was there was stocking the drinks in the back and doing inventory. It was pretty busy, so it can be hard to keep an eye on the customers, especially when you're the only one up front. I noticed this sketchy guy who had been walking around the gas station for over 10 minutes at least. I was skeptical of him because usually you are in and out of a gas station fairly quickly, and he kept making eye contact with me, which also alarmed me and seemed a bit suspicious. I'm not exaggerating at all when I say it really is a dangerous area. I was always told that if I caught someone stealing to not do anything about it, and to just report it to a higher-up manager. I noticed he got in line, and I had a bad feeling about what was going to happen when he was up to be checked out. When it was finally his turn, he told me he wanted a pack of Newports. He also had a tall Bud Light that he was purchasing. He appeared to be really drunk, as I could smell the alcohol on him, and he was slurring his words pretty bad. I told him I couldn't sell him the alcohol, and he got really angry. He reached over and grabbed the cigarettes and the beer, and attempted to run out of the store. When he turned around, he almost immediately tripped and fell. Then I noticed that 2 other tall beers fell through his pant leg that he was attempting to steal as well. Luckily, there was an older man who witnessed the whole thing and wrestled him to the ground right after he got up, and he took all the merchandise from him that he was trying to steal. They got into a bit of a fight, and the man ended up letting him go after a minute of having him pinned on the ground, trying to calm him down. When he got back up, though, he took out some sort of pocket knife and swatted at the older man with it. He cut his arm up pretty bad, but then another man stepped in and punched the man with a knife directly in the nose, and that's when he fell back and knocked over a bunch of candy that was in the aisle, and then he got up and ran. I had to call the police at that point and get this older man to a hospital as soon as possible. Obviously, the man who was trying to steal was gone before the police got there. They literally took over 30 minutes to get there anyways. I told them what happened and they couldn't do much about it, other than try and figure out who it was. I can't believe someone would do something like that over a couple of beers and a pack of cigarettes. Some people are just straight up messed up. The weird thing is this guy still comes in all the time and is very passive-aggressive. He even apologized to me about everything that he did one time. And another time he even threatened to fight me. I almost have no choice but to get another job, as working here has been really taxing on my mental health. And not only because of that guy, but a lot of other reasons as well. But I really need the money. I'm a single dad and can barely make ends meet at the end of the month as it is. I'm 30 years old and I haven't even graduated high school, so there isn't many options for me right now. I plan on getting my GED soon and going to trade school so I can become an electrician. That way I can hopefully make a better living for my daughter and I. I have a really messed up past, but I'm trying to change my life around.